channel, long time on 11970, aka Chris. Hopefully you are enjoying your day and things are going well. Like I've said in the past, I basically will not make a video unless I feel there is something worthy of saying. I don't want to be a YouTuber that makes videos just to make videos so they can make money and everything like that. That is not what I'm all about. Although everybody has the right to do what they want, so that's not a problem. My life has been changing a lot lately. I've been getting into gardening, growing my own organic vegetables and fruit trees and things like that. I spend my days taking care of animals. I just actually am currently helping a baby bluebird that fell out of its nest and cannot fly. Life has been changing for the better. I've actually been getting a lot into meditating, which is something I highly recommend people do. And those of you who've been watching my while, and if you haven't, watch a couple of my videos, especially in the past 3 years. Especially recently, now that I've been meditating more and learning really how to do it. And I'll give you some tips on it right here. If you want to properly learn how to meditate, every breath you take, I want you to picture energy coming from a source above, beaming into you as you take a breath, feeling the tingling feeling up and down your spine. It's almost like a ticklish kind of feeling. And when you breathe out, just image that breath, again, going straight up into the atmosphere. It's amazing what it'll do, especially if you can get that feeling going up and down your spine. You actually start awakening your chakras, and you'd be amazed at the information you'll be given. Those of you who've been watching my channel for a while know that there are times where I'll have these vivid dreams, and I'll be what I consider downloaded information. Now, whether it's just an actual dream or somebody's trying to communicate with me, I have no proof either way, so you can take it any way you want. I relay the messages that I feel are beneficial to people. And one of the things that I have been doing lately, and something I highly recommend people do if you want to be a light worker, and if you don't know what that is, I recommend looking it up. But you got to be as light as possible, literally. Light as in the light of energy, but light also light in yourself. In other words, not weighed down by lower vibrations. That's to get rid of the anger and the fear and the oppression. Fear is the number one thing you got to learn to turn into something beneficial. Otherwise, you're always going to be trapped. What I would highly recommend is, sorry, I just got a message. I got a little lost a train of thought. I've been trying to deal with getting rid of my lower vibrations, my frustrations, my fears and things like that, my anger, and I've gotten rid of a lot of my fears. But for some reason, every now and then, just one little thing would trigger me, and I would just get very angry. And sometimes I wouldn't even know why, because it would be just ridiculous things, and I would have this pent-up anger. And I'm like, well, I am changing my life. I'm eating better. I drink basically almost nothing but lemon water. I'm doing all these positive things. Why am I so angry? Okay, so getting to the information that's relevant for you guys. I had a dream, a vision, a download, whatever you want to call it, last night or yesterday. And part of that was telling me how to deal with fear and looking at fear, anger, and all those emotions in a different way. Now, I've talked about this a little bit before, but they went into further detail, because even light workers and people that say stuff, they're all talking about how there are wars. I'm talking about wars here. I'm talking about like angelic wars or alien wars or spiritual wars or religious wars, whatever you want. There's a whole different type of wars everywhere. And that's backward thinking. And the way the message came to me was, people do not understand, because that's what I say instead of understand, I say understand, what I like to call your opposites are. Your opposites are your fears, your lower vibrational energies. I consider to call them opposites. And they said people have the wrong idea about the usefulness of them because it's the yin and the yang. Winter, you cannot appreciate a summer. You cannot appreciate the heat. Without, you can't appreciate the food you really do like. So the negative parts or the opposite parts of who you are, you cannot get rid of. They said, think of it like your shadow. Your shadow is a part of you. You go. You cannot get rid of your shadow, no matter how much you yell at it, no matter how much you threaten it, no matter how many apples and oranges you consume, no matter how much water you drink, no matter how many spells you cast or how many prayers you take or give. You cannot get rid of your shadow. It's a part of you. It's the same thing with the opposite aspects of who you are. Now, everything from one singularity, a singular source, which means all comes from the both positive and negative. Again, try not to think of things as positive and negative, because you think of positive as good and negative as bad. Well, negative is just another life force. And the vision that I had was telling me to put myself in that negative energy's consciousness, to where in the dream I became fear and anger and all these emotions, because emotions are energy in motion. Everything is made of energy and light. It just varies due to the depths of the degree of it by vibration, the speed of rotation. So everything is the same. The rock is made of the same thing as the bird. The tree is made of the same thing as the human. The whale is made of the same thing as an asteroid. It's all made of particles of energy. Energy is light. Light has consciousness. This is not something new. If you don't understand it, I highly recommend you research these things, because what I'm preaching here, well, not preaching, what I am explaining here may not be at your pay grade yet. And that's okay. Trying to teach physics to a kindergarten student is just going to sound like gibberish. So I understand that. So if you're not ready for this, you will be eventually. May not be this lifetime, it may be another. But in the dream, what was called the source, or the one, or whatever you want to call it, said, I want you to feel what it feels like to be the energy of anger and fear. And I got this, all of a sudden, this image of this, like, the best way to describe it was almost like if you took a couple of sea eels, took them onto the land where they're all intertwined and slimy, but not as solid as a normal eel would be. And it was all bunched up and twisting and black and all hiding in a corner. And everybody tells you, you got to get rid of your negativity. You got to get rid of your emotions. You got to kill and send it elsewhere. Well, because energy can never be nothing more than dispersed, it cannot be destroyed. All you're doing is sending that energy somewhere else for now somebody else to have to deal with. But the negative energy from the concept of what I sensed from them as a conscious entity was, well, we need to eat too. We need to survive too. What about our children? And it made me think about what it's like to be negative energy, because negative energy is not negative. Everything came from one source that became souls of light, souls of energy. And there are energy sources, call them angels, call them gods, call them whatever you want. I'll leave that up to you. Call them nothing. You could not believe a word I'm saying, and that's perfectly fine, because this video will not be for you. But everything has consciousness. And there were loving beings, call them what you will, that decided to become the negative or opposite aspect of you so you didn't have to deal with it. In other words, they became fear so you didn't have to be fearful. They became angry so you didn't have to become angry. They volunteered to be the things you don't want to be. Not only do they not get thanked for it, they get abused, neglected, ignored, and cast away. So put yourself, let's say you are an entity that decided to come to this planet and chose to become somebody's anger because you loved them so much as a soul that you didn't want them to have to experience that. So your whole purpose is to absorb anger. You're not appreciated for what you do. And you're always told you're bad. How would that make you feel? trying to get rid of part of you is impossible. Trying to destroy half of you will kill all of you. So even some of the most positive people that I have seen on YouTube that have nothing, as far as I know, nothing but pure intentions, thereby drowning in good intentions, are always telling people to get rid of your negative energy. Now just imagine, let's say you could. That's like saying you have cancer and you rip that cancer out of your body and now you give it to somebody else. So somebody else that did not have cancer. And Shaney, thank you for your negative input. I'm sorry you're not at the level to understand this stuff, but if you feel the need to insult me, that says more about you than me. But thank you for your critique. I give you the freedom to say whatever you want, including things that, unfortunately, I feel sorry for you if you think this stuff is nuts. It just means you're a kindergartner listening to a college professor talk about physics and you don't understand the words. But that's fine. You'll get there someday. So we don't need to insult them. It's okay. Everybody's at different experience levels. It will take people like that many thousands of lifetimes to understand how the world really works. Love gives infinity, so you have forever to finally find your way back home. So thank you for that message. So anyway, for the people that are trying to understand, to better themselves, to be better human beings and raise their vibration and their consciousness, it's to see all things as good. Now, recently I took in a stray kitten. I was feeding some of the stray kittens outside, and out of nowhere, this kitten that was probably 3 or 4 months old, was missing an eye, who was starving to death, and was covered in scabies. No, it's not covered in scabies anymore. We've taken him to the vet. We've given him all the antibiotics and things, and he's a perfectly beautiful, the most friendly kitten I've ever met in my life. And I was asked, is that kitten perfect? Now, most people would say, no, it's missing an eye, and it's not skinny anymore. We've definitely fattened him up a little bit. But because it didn't look beautiful, does that not mean that animal is not perfect? Of course he is. He's perfect in every way. And the lesson I was told about things that approach you in your life is that the soul of that cat's job coming here was to help people understand that you don't have to be beautiful to have beauty. That you can look imperfect and still be perfect. For creators make no mistakes. Everything has a purpose. So, to get back to my anger that I could not figure out, I was told in this dream to call my mother, who is the one person in my life that I have in the highest esteem, who I love very much, who I trust with my life, and explain to her these dreams that I have, knowing full well I will probably be judged for it. And man, was that vision correct, because she went off the deep end, said I was suicidal for some reason, said that I was on drugs for some reason, which I find funny. If people say they believe in God and believe in angels, they're praised for it. But if you've ever said that you've spoken with one, like that one person said in the comment, they call you nuts. To me, that makes no sense. But what I got from that is I was nothing but loving. I was nothing but sharing. I explained the situation. She and my aunt called me and yelled at me. For whatever reason, I have no idea. But then my answer came to me of why I've been so angry. It's because one side of my family, I'm not going to say it's all Italians, but if you're Italian like me, and my one side of the family is 100% Sicilian Italian, so if you know anything about that, you know they might sometimes have anger issues. But at least as far as my family is concerned, my whole life, they've nothing but yelling and arguing. During my grandmother's funeral, my aunt started arguing because they took the flowers out before the casket. I mean, in an outrageous tirade. So I learned where my anger came from, and I gave it back. And now I'm not as angry as I was, and I felt at peace for the first time in my entire life. the whole concept of why I had to do that, and of course I didn't have to do it because everything's a choice, is it's to take your deepest, darkest fear and put it out in the universe, even though you may be judged, even though you may be insulted, even though you may be attacked, even though you may be ignored or anything. You release it from yourself and give it back to the universe, which makes you grow. So if you think about it, negative parts of your life are not negative. They are there to make sure you remember so you can change things in your life if you so choose and become a better, loving being. Not many people are willing to do that in this world of greed, in this world of fear, in this world of anger. That person that made that comment of saying I'm nuts, I don't know that person doesn't know me. They based it on one video and decided that it would make themselves feel better if they ridiculed somebody who's doing nothing but trying to help people better their lives. That's the kind of world we live in. So my suggestion would be, with a choice, choose the right way instead of the wrong way. Now that's going to be different for each person. Love is the answer. Just making stuff up. All right, so Shani, we're going to say goodbye to you. So have a good day. You have a wonderful day, and I hope you find your peace somewhere else. Find your peace, find your happiness. Take your fears and get them out of your system. Help heal yourself. Make yourself find peace and love. Do good for people, because it always goes back to yourself. And if you choose this, you will always be in a better place. Now, it may not be instant, and that's perfectly fine. There we go. We got disconnected. Another thing that people are very angry about in this world, and I was one of those people. People will say things like, if they believe in a God or don't believe in God, they'll curse God out all the time. They'll say, why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to the world? Why are you doing this to the children? Why are you doing this to this person? Why are you doing this to me? Why? But let me ask you all this. Do you want to be a slave? I would hope most people would say no. Now, what is a slave? A slave is somebody who does not have the freedom to do what they want and has somebody making them do something against their own choices. Your Creator gave you free will, love, because what that means is you are free to do anything you want. You are not subjugated to somebody else's rule that says you must do this. You have to do this. You will do what I say. No. So, God, or the One, or the Source, whatever you want to call him, loved you so much that they allowed you the ability to do whatever you want. It's always a choice, which means any choice you make, you can make another choice, you can make an opposite choice, you can make the same choice over and over again. That's on you. And you'll repeat the cycle forever until you graduate to the higher level, because love is so strong that is why eternity was created. So you have eternity to be a jerk, to be a murderer, to be a thief, and then one day not become a murderer. Get tired of being a thief. Get tired of doing evil. Get tired of going on people's channels only to say nothing that is kind. Eventually, you get tired of doing the wrong thing, and you slowly start learning a better way. So the idea is to not take negative aspects of your life and try and get rid of it. Because here's another part of the dream that I was told. In the dream, I was asking hate and anger, if it could be anything else, what would it choose to be? And it said love. Then, in another part of that same dream, I dreamed of this huge red dragon that was in a burned down city that was just fire and red and orange everywhere, just total destruction, sitting there being all powerful. And in the dream, it tried to scare me, and I said, "Oh, look how cute you are." And I hugged it. And I said, and it tried to breathe fire on me, and it did not injure me or even burn me. And it was amazed by this. And I said, "Do you want to know what real power is?" And I said, "Yes." And I gave it a hug. And I said to it, "If you had the choice to be anything in life, anything in the universe, what would you choose?" And it chose to be a butterfly. And in the dream, turned into a butterfly. When I, in the dream, asked fear, what would you want to be if you could be anything in the universe outside of being fear? What would you be? The answer I got was flowers. Think about it. Everybody hates fear. Everybody wants to run away from fear. Nobody wants fear near them. But they love flowers. Flowers smell beautiful. People grow them in their gardens. People look at them with appreciation. So the idea is to look at everything in life differently. Otherwise, we go in the same loop over and over again, and you are just trapped in karma for all eternity. Until one day, one millennia, one century, whatever, you figure it out. So the idea is to find a better way. If you want to be negative, by all means, please be negative. All that does is it keeps you down here while the rest of us rise and rise and rise. To me, that makes no sense. When you hurt others, all you're doing is reflecting your own pain onto others. You don't have to take it. You don't have to accept it. And you definitely don't have to agree with what they say. I feel sorry for those who cannot or will not want to even try to understand what I'm speaking about. Because I, for the first time in my soon-to-be 52 years, am at peace. Am I perfect at the moment with everything I feel? No, because everything's a work in progress. Once you learn something new, you don't master it the next day. The idea is to understand your beauty from both sides of the yin and the yang. It's to know that you have the positive side and the negative side, but they are all as one. It's the yin and the yang. They are part of you. They will always be a part of you. If you spend your whole life trying to get rid of your shadow, you will die disappointed that you did not change a thing. Loway says, when I first saw God, it was a lion-faced snake. Well, which God are you referring to? Because God is not a name, it's a title. And that, to me, does not sound like a God of love. So I would be very careful about the type of gods that you are interfacing with. Because if you are interfacing with any entity that calls itself God, or what you consider God, and it's trying to instill fear in you, then it is not a good one. So I would be very cautious about that. So if you want to raise your vibration, if you want to raise your consciousness, if you want to find more peace in your life, the idea is not to take half of you and try and get rid of it. Try and get rid of your shadow, spend your whole life trying to get rid of your shadow, and watch what happens. You wasted your life. Or you can find a way to turn what you consider negative into positive because the universe will never grow into if all we do is hate those we do not agree with and hate those we do not like, or hate those because we don't like the way they look. Well, there you go. Madam Katrina found a good aspect to look at it that way. So there you go. See, that's taking a lemon and making lemonade. So very good job with that comment, seeing a lion for what it means and the snake for what it means. If you see it as fear, that's always a bad thing. But if you're seeing it in that aspect, then you're actually learning something from that. So good job with that. Not many people are going to get this stuff. Not many people are going to listen to this, and very few that listen are ever going to put it into practice. What I would highly recommend if you want to raise your consciousness is you have to take your deepest, darkest fear and get it out of your system, because all it is a boulder weighing you down. I did that yesterday, knowing I was going to be judged, and boy, was I judged. But it didn't change my intent. It didn't change what I meant by sharing something with somebody I trust. I cannot control the responses that others make. I can only control what I do. But it made me feel really good afterwards to get that boulder out of my system that was weighing me down. And seeing the opposite sides of your emotions, what you consider negative, as part of you, which is there for the sole purpose of making sure you don't have to be those things. You can see it as a positive thing and maybe turn fear into some flowers. In other words, give it a positive influence. Because a robber is never going to stop robbing if he's just chastised all the time for robbing. What if somebody gave a robber a chance at a better life? A chance to be able to have an honest living and be rewarded for their hard work? Isn't that better than putting somebody behind bars and making them suffer? You cannot teach evil people to be good by forcing more evil and hatred and negativity upon them. Use a flamethrower to put out a fire, and you let me know when the fire's out. Save a person drowning by dumping water on them, and let me know how many people you saved. If you want the truest high, new earth gathering, higher level of the multiverse mindset, you got to change your inner self. You have to be able, well, you don't have to, you should choose to do some, at least think about and consider some of the things I've talked about. Every single one of you can choose to ignore this. Every single one of you can be like that one person that was leaving those negative comments. You could totally say this is hogwash, it's BS, this person's crazy. That's not the first time I've heard that in my life on YouTube. Notice how it doesn't change what I do or who I am. And I just push away them trying to offer me their negativity because they are not strong enough yet to be able to handle that negativity. Yet being the key word, because love is infinite. Love will be there waiting forever for you to find your way home. The purpose of being in this third dimensional realm, in this physical reality, is for the universe to see and God to see, or the one, the source, to see how far your light soul can leave the light and go as far down into darkness as physically possible, forget all they know, and still find their way back to the light. You wonder why so many people are angry and scared and rude and violent and greedy and selfish? It's because they're all trapped. So that is my video. If you like it, hit the thumbs up. If you don't like it, hit the thumbs down. Let me see some comments. Let me know what you think about this stuff. And if some of my advice helps you someday, let me know about it. But to all of you, including the ones who are negative, peace be with you. And I hope you have found nothing but happiness and love and success in your life. You all have a wonderful day.